Alright everyone, so today I wanted to go over a list of things that you never want to spend your gems on, and there are a couple of tiny exceptions that might apply to a few of you guys, so I will mention those, but for the vast majority of you guys watching, those exceptions are not going to apply to you, so you're really just going to want to stay away from doing any of these things in this video. So let's go ahead and get started here with number one, and the first couple of things that we're going to talk about both have to do with gear. So let me just use Escanor as my example here, and the first thing on the list is you never want to use gems to reroll your bonus rolls. Now when it comes to SSRs, you have the option to use gems or anvils, and between those two options, you always want to go with anvils. And as time goes on, then anvils are going to become even better to use because there's going to become more ways to get them. Gems are always going to be valuable for other stuff. Now, even if you are a whale, you still want to go with the anvil option and not the gem option because the packages and the offers in the shop that contain anvils are a better deal than just straight up buying gems in order to do this. So anvils always above gems. Now, when it comes to your non-SSRs, we're going to talk about the rares, the uncommons, and the commons. You have two different options here. Now you don't have the gems, you have the gold and you have the anvils, and between the gold and the anvils, you always want to go with the gold. The 10,000 gold is way less valuable than spending 3 anvils on rares. You never want to use anvils on anything except for SSRs. And the gold is going to apply to your rares, your uncommon, and your commons. And I would try not to make too many common and uncommons. And if you're going to make gear sets that use gold in order to reroll, I would really stick with rares because those are going to be the ones with the highest stats that you're going to use the most. And it's the rarity right before you no longer have gold in order to have as an option to reroll. Now, the one that I obviously didn't talk about is your SRs. And you absolutely never want to use that gear anyway because it's not as good as SSRs, but you also can't use gold as an option. So it's kind of in that awkward middle ground where it's just no good. You do not want to do any of this stuff with your SRs. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, number 2 on this list, is not going to be the bonus rolls. It's going to be the basic rolls right up here. And with the basic rolls, you no longer have anvils as an option to reroll like the bonus rolls. You only have gems. And you do not want to find yourself in a situation to ever have to do this. The option is there, but you don't want to because obviously gems are going to be much better in so many other areas of the game. So how does that mean that you end up getting your basic stats up? Well, this is why it's important to farm a good amount of SSR gear, because then what you do is every time you get a piece of SSR gear, it's going to come with a basic stat that's randomly rolled between, like these bracers here would be randomly rolled between 390 and 520, and you obviously don't want to work on gear unless it has something reasonable. It doesn't have to be as high as this one, 510. I would say as long as it's in the top 10%, that's fine. So that would be like 505, 507 plus. If you're a perfectionist, you can go with 95% plus. You don't have to be a perfectionist, but you want it somewhere near the top and not in the middle or the bottom, because then you're going to find yourself in an incredibly awkward situation where this is one of those exceptions that I mentioned, that if you have somehow leveled up all of the bonuses, you've unlocked it, you 5-star awakened it, maybe even you've UR'd it, and you got all the really good rolls here. You've already spent a bunch of anvils, but you realize that you made a mistake and you have a piece of equipment that has a really low basic stat. Let's just say that somehow these bracers only had 390 instead of the 510 that they have. That would be one of the rare exceptions where I would say it's okay to try to use a few gems to get it closer to the maximum, only because you've already spent a bunch of resources into that item anyway, and it would be better at that point to just spend a few gems to try to get a higher number rather than to reinvest all of the awakening stones, the gold, and the anvils in order to completely recreate the item. But you shouldn't have to find yourself in that situation to begin with, as long as you don't start working on, all of your really good SSR gear until it has a solid basic roll to begin with. So that is number 2. Now we're going to move on to number 3 on the list. And I want to actually go to the one place where this is going to end up being an exception, and that is going to be the PvP shop. Now, this is the one place where this is going to be okay to do for some people. Still probably not going to apply to a lot of you guys, but what I want to say here is, and let's actually go to the PvP shop here for this. I know my avatar is the slime. It's definitely the best one by far. And that is going to be to refresh your PvP shop. It's okay to refresh your PvP shop under rare circumstances, simply for the anvils. It's really the only item, and that's because there's a limit of 100 anvils that you can buy. So that's 2,000 PvP coins per week. If you somehow have a ton of PvP coins, you know, it's okay. I think it's still probably better to wait until the weekly refresh so that you don't have to spend gems doing this. But 1 gem for 100 anvils is pretty decent anyway. You really do not want to do this in any other shop, though. That includes all the shops in the villages. The items that they offer you, it's just not worth spending the gem in order to refresh it. It's going to be much better for you to wait the day in order for it to refresh. And the PvP shop only refreshes once per week, whereas the village shops are going to refresh every single day. So, you know, the patience is really going to reward you there, and it's just a very, very big waste of gems. All right, next up here on the list, and let's head back to the tavern here just because I like the background music there. Also, I'm not my slime profile anymore. But that is going to be the item shop here. And this is just the biggest noob bait of wasting gems. There's really only one thing here now that I think is worthwhile. That is going to be the Fight Festival entry tickets. That's what it costs anyway. If you're just doing PvP and you run out of tickets and you try to enter a fight, it'll ask you if you want to refresh. It's going to cost you 1 gem for 3 tickets anyway. So that's fine. If you really like PvP, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But basically everything else here, even the stamina, they've got these stamina BOGO events where you can end up getting, instead of 50 stamina, you get 100 stamina for 1 gem. Probably the, you know, next best thing that you could spend gems on here, but I still don't think it's worth it. If you're spending your gems on summons and you have a decent amount of silver coins, you should be able to get enough stamina potions doing that anyway. But basically everything else here, the dungeon keys, the gold keys, the hero affinity, and this is just torture to even look at right there, the 5-star chalices for 10 gems each. Yikes. I can't even say that with a straight face. Yeah, this stuff is just not worth buying, so definitely stay away from this. Don't spend your gems there. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is something that I'm not really going to be able to show very well in a video as an example here, but I'm talking about the Frustration Revive from a team wipe. I'm sure all of you guys have experienced that option at least once. If you haven't, you are a god gamer. You know, props to you. But, you know, if you go through whatever content that you're running and your team wipes, the game will give you the option to fully revive your team for 1 gem. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's just not. And the thing is, trust me when I say it's a mistake, because I've done it before, and guess what happens? If you wipe again, it's not just going to be for 1 gem. The price goes up. So the first time that you wipe, it costs 1 gem to revive your full team, which you still don't want to do anyway. It's not worth it. Just restart it. Whatever stamina it costs to go through, it's a much better option than spending the gem to revive. You should be able to eventually get to the point where you beat the content anyway. So if you have to spend a gem to revive, that's a sign that you're probably not ready for the content or you're doing something incorrectly. But then, to make things even worse, if you die again, you don't even get the option for 1 gem anymore. Now it's going to cost you 2. So, yeah, it's a dark road that you definitely do not want to go down. And the very last thing that I want to mention here, I somewhat want to take it off of the list of absolutely never want to spend your gems on it. I want to say almost never, because there are a couple of exceptions, and I want to talk about banner-related stuff. And I want to go over first of all, the Part 1 banner. Now, I would say the vast majority, almost all of you guys, at this point, you never want to spend your gems on this banner anymore, and it's for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Part 1 banner has been complete for a while now. These units have been out for a while. They're not considered to be as good as the Part 2 units, you know, on a vast scale. There are obviously some exceptions here and there. And also the fact that you end up getting a Part 1 guaranteed ticket from your Elizabeth login rewards every single week anyway. You're going to just get so many Part 1 summons compared to your Part 2 summons. So the fact that the banners both cost the same number of gems and you just get way more options to do summons for free from the Part 1 one, it's really not worth it. Now, the extremely tiny exception, maybe if you're a new player, and maybe if you get like the trifecta, which is 3 perfect units on the Part 1 banner that you absolutely are really looking for, maybe. But even then, I would still say for basically everyone, you're not going to want to spend gems on this anymore. Now, the Part 2 banner, I also want to throw in there, but this one, obviously, you know, doesn't have as many units. They're still adding new stuff to it. You know, generally speaking, the Part 2 units are considered more powerful than the Part 1 units, and we don't get as many free summons for Part 2. Part 2 tickets are definitely quite a bit more rare to acquire for free in-game without spending money than the Part 1. Yet they cost the same number of gems, and I would still stay away from it when there really aren't very many good featured units on it, but occasionally we are seeing 2 good units featured on it, like Escanor and Blue Demon Meliodas. Maybe then, but even then, you know, there's probably better reasons and ways for you to save up your gems for other stuff coming up in the future. I would definitely say, though, that it's not as bad as the Part 1 banner. So that's going to be about it for this video, though. I've thrown a lot of info at you guys for today, so I'm going to leave it here, and I hope that you guys enjoyed and were able to take something away from this video. So if you enjoyed and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Over 10,000 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. If you want to help out as well, leaving a quick like means more than you can imagine, so thank you so much to all of you who decide to do that. And more Grand Cross Global videos should be popping up on the screen right about now, or in the suggested videos to your right or below. Over 160 now, guides, tutorials, and fun videos on the channel just like this, so feel free to check them out. But if not, have a fantastic day, everyone. Take care, and until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.